Through blood and steel, we carve the way, the kings and queens of every fray. No defeat, no step too far. We rise and shine, the brightest star. We are overlord, unstoppable might, ruling the skies, owning the fight. We are overlord, destined to reign. Through every battle we conquer again. No mercy show, no ground we yield. Our banner flies on every field. At the peak, our victory sealed. Overlord, forever we stand, forever we reign. Overlord.
Hello.
Hello.
I guess this is the first Overlord pod or Overlord Econ podcast.
Well, I think it might technically be the first. I think they have to redo the other one still.
Oh wait, yeah, because it wasn't good. Actually, is this one gonna save? Did we set the setting correctly?
Hopefully.
Okay. So, I guess we'll start off with introductions. Clover, the
Me.
mayor.
Hello. Would you like me to go first then?
Yes.
All right. I'm Clover. Hello, everyone. Some of you may remember me from Alpha 1. I was the mayor all the way back then. I was mayor in pre-alpha. When Phase 1 came around, I was stuck in the eternal queue, so I didn't get to be mayor until the very end there. But Nehelion did a good job running things for me in Phase 1, throughout most of Phase 1. Let's see. What else is there about me? I am in Phoenix Initiative, so you've also probably seen me in some of the live stream recordings, namely the Caravan event and the Node War event. I was Ranger in both of those, I believe. If you go back, you can find me. It's no big deal. Yeah, that's it for me.
And I am Nehelion. I guess I joined Overlord. Was it? Whenever my original guild fell apart. But sort of joined in because I saw how they played in Alpha 1. And I was inspired, so to say, despite me making fun of them several times. But once the guild fell apart, I advocated for us to move to this guild. And therefore now we're here. And I guess after a bunch of stuff happening, now I guess I'm more of a doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Or whatever that's worth.
For another part of my introduction, I guess I should say how long I've been with Overlord. I started in Overlord. That was the very first guild I joined, and I've been with them ever since Alpha 1. I think a week before Alpha 1 came out of NDA, I joined Overlord. And I've just been crafting focused since. And in order to craft, we need node buildings.
And I too plan to be crafting focused, or not crafting, gathering. In fact, the econ side, my main priority from the beginning, or my main passion, has been gathering specifically. But we'll see where things take me. Okay, let's begin with our talk about Phase 2. I guess mostly it's going to be phase 2, or maybe even some recap of phase 1. Our first topic is mayorship. I did start off as mayor in phase 1 by accident, and was forced into that position for longer than expected. But then stuff was passed over to Clover.
Oh, you did a good job
Which
with
I
it.
will say, what is it?
You did a good job with it. It was nice having
Well,
someone else thrust into the position, so I could have somebody to
I would
talk to about
say
this stuff.
I feel like most of the things was me coming over to Clover and asking, what should I do next?
But
I
you
wouldn't
still
say it's,
understand things now, so it's nice having
yes,
someone else who can talk
I
about
learned.
node stuff.
But once we did get in, I got into the mayorship position. One of the biggest things we first started off with is uh, trying to start a mayor chat to communicate with other mayors, because the limited space sort of requires you to and get everybody on the same page. And as we've seen in other servers, when you don't get in the same page, you get nothing done.
Yeah, I think I popped into Resna somewhere near the end, and I saw one of their nodes was just, it only had one building. One of their nodes had 3 factories in it.
Yep.
Don't really know what was going on over there. Can't really say to what sort of political structure was going on with Envious and Nova Ordum and all those guilds. But we realized, I think it was back in pre-alpha, or pre-phase 1, where we realized that in order to get journeyman level crafts online, you have to structure nodes in a very specific way.
Yep. And in fact, the nodes that we were trying to structure, we realized that the maximum potential of what should be potentially reached, which is journeyman buildings, we can't reach all of them. We even struggled reaching all the apprentice buildings. But
Oh yeah, some buildings
maybe
are
that
just
changes.
more costly than others. Farming poop for agricultural supplies and cookhouse. Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
ready to do that again in phase 2.
I mean, I will say, because of some of the changes they did during phase 1, which is making the materials needed to be 1 of each rather than 5 of each on the buy orders, it does kind of alleviate a lot of the requirements that divides things by 5 rather than like 5,000 copper needed. Now it's only 1,000.
It's still a lot of copper. I'm pretty sure everyone knows just how much of a pain it is to find any.
Definitely is. Now, there are also examples that we've seen of mayors making some bad choices. And when attempting to do the things they're trying to do, and often I would often see as the
This is
mayor
the only ad
starts off
blocker.
his his stuff, you then see that as he's trying to think too much about it, he then keeps messing up. I mean, I'm not going to call out names of other mayors who have done that, but
Yeah, it's I mean, to be fair, some of them, like, no one was expecting to be pulled into a mayor chat to get things up and running. No one really knew from the get-go that we needed to work together in order to get these crafts online. So some of these people entered chat with like, oh, I've already built a farm or I've already built a smithy.
Yep.
So we had to work around that at one point. Think changing up the build plan over and over again was it hurt a lot, especially when
Yeah.
like we were sitting on like most of the resources for the building we were already done with, and then
Yeah.
they're like, well, we think it might be better if you guys do this one instead.
Yeah. And then we had to demolish a building.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Although one thing I never got to test out is would demolishing one of the expansion buildings destroy the building that you expanded?
I did
Or
try
does it
that.
just keep it there? Did it reach the end?
So
And
you can only deconstruct one building at a time, and it takes 24 hours
mhm.
to deconstruct. And I
Yeah.
started Sunday morning, the last day of the server, so I could only deconstruct
Yep.
one of those buildings, and we need to do both to test out whether or not that would put the other building offline. I think we are getting a little ahead of ourselves in that talk, though, because I don't think we've gone over exactly how service buildings play into expansions.
Oh yes, indeed. Actually, I'm usually assuming people uh keep up with information and actually look into some of these things, but most people don't. And
Well, it's good to have
sometimes
this
they get
information
explained.
out in as many different formats as we can: podcast, YouTube video, whatever you need. Um, I guess I'll just start
Wait,
with
let me.
okay. Um,
Yes.
Back in pre-alpha, upon building everything, we learned that wow, we only have 5 nodes, and it is very hard to get any sort of crafting online with the amount of space we have. And I don't think it was until towards the end of that test that I finally figured out, oh, service buildings give a an expansion point, or yeah, node expansion point that correlates to a specific building upgrade. So we have to, with every building we make, build a second building to support it, which cut our node space from 4 to 2, essentially. So each node has about 2 crafting halls they can make and 2 service buildings to support those, which leaves a total of what, 10 spaces on the server to work with, and that is most definitely not enough. Uh, Not enough space to handle every single craft, every single profession, because you have to make sure you have the gathering tools upgraded, then the processing tools stations upgraded, and then finally you can finally do the craft if you have everything that supports it. But a major issue is that almost every craft requires 3 to 4 supporting professions. Weaponsmith alone would take wood, so you need an upgraded axe, upgraded lumber mill, and then you could have that portion of it done. It needs metal, so mining tool, metalworking station, stone. Mining tool is already handled because of metal, but you also need a stonework station in order to make the weapon molds for weaponsmith. It requires so much just to make one craft work. So trying to juggle all our node space just to get a couple crafts online, a lot of working with other people and pushing our brains together to figure out how to make it work, and then also choosing which crafts we want to come online and which we have to leave at apprentice.
Yep. In fact, as I showed off in this here, we start if you want. So a one stone masonry has 3 different paths that it can go on. If you want all those journeyman paths, you would then need to build 3 of the stonemasonry buildings. Each one of those buildings would require a secondary expansion building. Then, once you get that expansion building, you need extra materials to then get that original apprentice building to upgrade to that journeyman. But that journeyman only gives you 1 profession out of the 22 professions.
Yep, it is a whole lot. We didn't even mess around too much with uh, node structure in terms of like optimizing professions, because we could have easily done like all metalworking in one node and then all lumber milling in another node, so that you have, well, you go out, you gather all the wood that you need, and then you go back to one node instead and have what, two, four, six, four, five queues of wood to handle all in one spot instead of having to run back and forth between 2 nodes. But it was also good to have it spread out so other nodes don't get just neglected. I know New Ayla was definitely feeling the hurt on the gold generation just because they
Yep.
didn't have anyone going out there. I think they
Because they're
had
also
tailoring.
far
Oh,
away from everybody else.
they are. They're in a corner of the map. They didn't really. They had tailoring and they had lumber milling, I think, which other nodes already had lumber milling, so it didn't really help. Uh, Paula asks if 3 new nodes in phase 2 are actually going to help us out with the whole not having enough space thing.
That is a complicated question. In
It'll
fact,
help. It'll help though.
it will help.
Um,
Yeah, we'll definitely have more room, but
we'll
there's
talk on that later
several
because
layers to
there's,
it.
yeah, there's more
Yeah.
complications with phase 2 that goes in further than just we have extra space.
Yep.
Oh, taxes, right? Yeah, that was a big hot topic. Uh,
No,
yeah,
I do have a taxes window.
yeah. Well, so I'm pretty sure everyone else wants a little insight onto why taxes got pushed so high at some points. It's not in everyone's window, but you can see it there. What Nehelion has pulled up, the total node gold, 140 gold. We needed 300 to upgrade 1 building. So there were times where we just had to push it as high as it could go, just to make sure we could afford our expansions.
Yep.
Now, I think just because we were in a short-term testing environment, um, a month is, or like what, 2 months? Was that 2 months?
Was it? Yeah, I think it was 2 months.
2 months is a long time, like in general, but when it comes to building a node, it is rather short. So we did have to push it, because if it was a long-term thing, we could have just left things at minimum and slowly generated gold over time and slowly upgraded our buildings, but for testing sake, we pushed it every now and then and put it back to minimum when we could.
Yeah. But I think from our end, Merilith did get quite a bit of people. Not to compare it to Halcyon,
Oh yeah, no.
mainly because they got
It's not,
the
we
help of
can't
pirates.
compete with pirates.
Yeah. But
Ugh.
from we had a generally healthy amount of several different guilds within the Merilith node that were all sort of pitching in and helping out, both resources and money.
And it did help that I think we had the only stonemason bench in the whole server.
That too.
Where are we now? What to talk about next?
Some regrets. His mayorship.
Yeah. Well, I was
I
not a fan of getting 2 farms in our node. I think I voiced that a lot in the mayor
yeah.
chat. But for testing sake, it was good just to see if the buffs would stack. I don't think they did, if I remember correctly. I don't think we never even got enough resources to upgrade the building we were assigned towards the
Yeah.
end. Um,
We got the mining pickaxe, but
yeah, that was easy. I think that was one of the first things up in the server.
yeah.
I think
In
that
fact, I
is
was
the
also
biggest regret I have from phase 1.
I did actually see in the test we just did is that we might have a much easier time with money because the markets,
Yeah,
a percentage of that goes to the
and I'm
node.
hoping a portion of whatever you spend on a freehold, or maybe even all of it, just goes to the node. That would be nice.
I I guess I have similar regrets of not pushing. I mean, we had pretty good. I'll say good people who are capable of talking back, so to say, and pushing their own ideas. But it's also it would have been helpful if the ideas that were pushed back on us were also made in like with some thought put into it rather than just haphazard we want this no matter what.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing to me is no names, obviously, but at a certain point towards the end when we were restructuring for the 3rd or 4th time, um, we were told to make uh, the animal husbandry.
And the agricultural, yeah.
Yeah, we were told to make that, and after like staring at the plan for a minute, I'm like, okay, but we could just move that thing you have here over to us. We already have most of the resources for that, and we could just be done. And the only explanation given was that's more farming for us, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Let's see, we got a few questions in chat. Do the crafting fees attached to the whole things we craft go to the city bank? The portion of it. So if
Yeah,
you're
10%.
paying like 55 copper, 5 of that copper goes to the node, 50 of that is the base cost. If we increase it to 100% taxes, it's like a full silver to craft. So it really depends
Yeah.
on how much taxes are set. You can see it if you pull up the screenshot you have there. The tax window shows the artisan tax rate. We can manually adjust whether crafting is more expensive, buying from the vendor is more expensive. That is blurry. Uh, we can adjust everything individually or overall. And for the most part, we set artisan stuff to 10%. So you'd only be sending a portion of whatever you're paying to the node.
Yep. In fact, market board functions the same way. So if you, as far as I've seen, if you set it to, so the exact numbers that I got is that if I set some item to be 100 gold, then it's also going to increase to 150 gold because the node that I was at had a 50% tax rate, that makes the person who's buying that item having to pay 150 gold, where 50 gold is going to go to the node and 100 is going to go to me. But I also had to pay 7 gold and 50 silver to actually put it on the market board.
Now,
You
does
have to
that
pay for the actual.
that listing price? How much of that goes to the node? Do you know?
I don't know if maybe some of it does.
This is a very good way to funnel gold to a node, though, is just by listing something
Yes.
for a price. I wonder if they're going to cap player gold at 200 again, or if they'll let us go a bit higher.
Currently, it's at 1,000.
Ooh, that's nice. That is nice.
Do we want to move over to nodes? Or do we have more questions?
I mean, there's one question about, do we think there's going to be a wipe after January 6th when the servers come down? I don't think so myself. I don't think they plan to wipe unless there's another phase coming.
Yeah. Or if something completely critically horrible goes wrong.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
giant bug.
Yeah.
But
They didn't even. So there was a dupe thing that hit in phase 1, and instead of, resetting the servers or doing a full wipe, they just wiped specific people. So
yeah.
instead of doing a full wipe, I think they'll just, wipe the things that need wiped and continue on as normal. In a perfect world, I think this is a good time to move over to nodes, because we just got asked, in a perfect world, what does node development look like across Vera? Oh, that is... I feel like that goes into server node structure. Specifically, I guess... we'll talk about phase 2 first. And... oh, it's so white right now.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, they'll talk about phase 2, and what we expect nodes to look like there. And then we'll talk about what it should be in a perfect world. So we're now down to one server for US, one server for EU, and an extra on standby just in case US gets overpopulated and they need to open up another, which means everyone on Resna, everyone on Vyra, everyone on Lilith, everyone is just going to be on that one server. We're going to have all those guilds competing for mayorship on that server, and we have no idea if people who get elected are going to play ball with the others. So, as we went over earlier, you need to work together in order to get crafting online. It is just too complex of a system to just haphazardly do whatever you want as your own node and also expect the server to get online correctly. I have hope that mayors can work together behind the scenes, and even if they have beef, we had beef with a guild that controlled Jova during phase 1, like our guild did. But us as mayors were like, okay, we're fighting, we're in conflict, but we still have to keep this in check, because if we're not doing this for the server falls apart. So I hope people understand that come phase 2 when we're all on the same server. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to happen. We're getting 3 extra nodes, yes, but I'm expecting 3 of those nodes to be controlled by people who just don't want to play ball.
Yep.
In a perfect world, though, let's go over this question again. I think if everyone understands that being vassalized isn't a bad thing, Like it just plays into your whole vassal structure is what you should be aiming to support, not just your node specifically.
I'd even actually say that I feel like whoever the overhead node is above the vassal takes on the responsibility of protecting the vassal, because that overhead really wants that vassal to not be
If you
warred, to
lose
not
out
be.
on that, it's just you're losing out on, like, maybe you lose out on your processing area, or
Yeah.
you lose out on being able to get mining picks past a certain point. It'll hurt a lot. Having higher tier nodes, we don't know how much extra space a level 4 node is going to give us, but it will definitely help in that regard. Even if 3 other nodes are just doing whatever they want, we still have a little bit of extra space to work with. But in a perfect world, a vassal system is fully in sync, all working towards the same goal of getting as many of the crafts as they can online and at the highest level possible. So, gosh, I don't think we ever went over how we structured things. It is all over the Linux Discords, posted pretty much everywhere you could find it because people had to vote. We always put it up to a public vote so people knew what we had options, and we wanted to know what people wanted on their server. But we ended up with herbalism. We were going to focus getting the herbalism tools and the mining pick tools upgraded in our node.
Yep.
Winstead was animal husbandry, and what did they have for their cookhouse upgrade?
Winstead, I believe it was hunting, because we specifically wanted to focus on hunting animals and then training them to be mounts.
Yes, they needed the hunting tools from the cookhouse so they could do the animal husbandry. Halcyon had... Yes, if you could put that up, that would help.
A quick look at the...
So, this was a collaboration between all the mayors working together to try and figure out what we wanted to do. The darker green stuff is the stuff we were focusing on getting to Journeyman. So, by the end, we would have had carpentry at Journeyman level as the only craft that is at Journeyman. Yeah, and metalwork played into it because bows need metal. Lumber milling played into it because obviously carpentry needs lumber. Herbalism played into it because herbalism and weaving played into it because bows need the thread. But if we had a little extra time to push the buildings up, we would have had everything online. We could have been pumping out level 20 bows on our server.
Wasn't it New Ayla that sort of like couldn't keep up?
They finally got lumber milling at the end. I think we were the only ones that didn't get herbalism online because that required... While tier 1 materials were reduced from 5 to 1, tier 2 materials stayed at 5, and we needed someone with apprentice farming, and we didn't have all that many people. Also, because farming requires everything to be the same rarity of material. We were gated on that a lot. We'd have all the poop we'd need, but anytime we were given flowers, it would be like, here's a couple rare, a couple uncommon, and we needed it all to be common. And
Yeah.
couldn't exactly get the turn-ins for that.
It's kind of like, we don't want your rarity. We just want the common stuff. Potentially there was like a system to like downgrade. Why not
Yeah, I
downgrade
would like
materials?
that. I would like to be able
Yeah.
to downgrade stuff, especially like I think in the current iteration, food doesn't have rarity, so like why do I care about legendary fish? Just make it common?
Yeah. Although, as Kala points out, and upgrade, I think upgrade is a little too much to ask.
We
But
kind of can upgrade through the processing. That goes into a whole separate podcast topic.
just in regards to raw materials.
Yeah. See, I know there was more on node structure we need to talk about.
In regards
Um,
to, in fact,
I guess in
what
phase 2,
does phase 2, the 3 more nodes that were added. But then we could, I guess, discuss the there's some benefits, but there's some negatives that are going to come with phase 2.
putting us all on one server is definitely going to hurt the nodes. I feel it. Especially since node siege is supposed to be a main point in phase 2. So I know people are just going to want to siege nodes just for the sake of sieging a node, even if it loses craft for the server. Something else.
Yeah. Especially if we have all those resonant PvP people. Then it's
Yep.
it would siege just for the sake of sieging without caring about the mayorship and the building. But maybe it's a existence
Like I
we gotta
said,
exist in.
here's hoping that they understand they gotta at least play along to keep stuff online.
In fact, here's a quick little look. Or both of us up.
Okay.
So actually hold on. I don't want to blind people. I just blinded people. So in this regard, imagine these as nodes. We've got New Ale over here. Let's see if there's my mouse. New Ale over here. We've got Jova, Halcyon, Winstead, Merilith, and then the 3 new desert nodes. In fact, I drew this incorrectly. My assumption is that the linking between them is based on which nodes are parallel or touching each other. And with today's test, we actually saw which nodes sort of touched each other, which was Merilith touching this desert node touching this one, and then that one touching this one. Let's assume that, as we've seen today, or at least Jova was forcefully leveled. Let's assume Jova reaches level 4. It's going to lock out one of these nodes. And it's not going to let one of these nodes level beyond level 3. In an ideal situation, let's say it's Nuela, because if it goes in this direction, it could cause more issues. And then let's say Merilith, which typically levels afterwards, and then it also locks something else off. Locks off the desert. That desert, as far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, could lock off the next desert node, locking it at 2. But
That
this
is
one
how the
could
current
potentially...
simulations that they have, at least on the wiki, that's how it works. Yeah.
But then also this one could be dislocated from the chain, and this one could still become 4.
And that's also not accounting for the fact that a level 4 node can only lock down one other node, so we could have another 4 next to
Is
one of
that
the other
true?
4s.
Because I've also kind of heard the opposite, that it actually, the locking system functions differently from the vassling system. That vassling is only one node, but the locking, it could lock more than one node.
Maybe.
I might be
I'm
wrong.
not entirely sure. I thought vassalization is the only locking method.
Potentially, maybe. So then we could assume if Winstead didn't get locked, it could turn into a 4, and this one would be forced to a 3. So this would be a potential
This would be the
outcome that we
ideal.
can see.
The ideal
Yes, an
outcome.
ideal outcome. Let's also then assume that with a level 4 node, we get 2 more building slots. And I'm thinking that 2 more building slots is a little over presumptuous, that it might be just 1 more building slot. But let's assume 2. We're looking at 6, 6, and 6. That's about 24. And then here, they remain at 4, 4, and 4. That's another
Total.
12. And then this one is 0.
Yep.
That's about 36.
Yep.
36 building slots. Divide that by 2 because you need 2 building slots to get 1 journeyman building. That remains us with 18 journeyman buildings. So we got to choose which 4 journeyman buildings we will not be having. But here's one caveat in that entire system is freeholds. Can a freehold get a journeyman building or journeyman station? And who is it available to? Again,
Well, that's also assuming that everything is online by the time nodes are ready to start planning things out.
very true. Because at the current moment, it seems as if it partially feels like some of the desert stuff isn't fully complete, and freeholds are completely unfinished. Currently, you can just claim one, but then beyond that, you can't do anything.
You can plant seeds from what the patch notes have said, at least.
I mean, I brought some seeds. I don't know where to initiate that.
I haven't tested it myself. Freeholds went away as soon as they went up, essentially.
Yep. I did get one. I got 1 freehold. I dumped my money into the well, which was 100 gold. And then it just gave me the freehold. And all I got out of it is whenever I talk to the well, it tells me, welcome back. And that's
Oh,
it.
do you need poop too? We understand that the normal farming requires poop and seeds, but planting in a freehold, does that also require poop?
At the moment, there's nothing to interact with.
I would assume you just right-click the seed in your inventory and place it on the ground, similar to a caravan or something.
Well, is it like a normal seed? Just like the same ones you buy for farming?
You have to buy it at an herbalism station that they had in Jova.
Oh. Okay. Did not experiment with that. But aside from that, what else we got?
resources. We never went over how much it costs to actually build stuff.
Oh, yeah. Let me share this part. As we need, this is an example of a stone masonry paired together with a farm, as well as a smithy paired together with a factory, and a agricultural supply paired together with a
School of
whatever those
construction.
things are. There is the initial cost, which is by now reduced. So it's only like 225 of whatever this material is. And after you get those buy orders complete, then it's just these materials to turn in.
I have
Not to
a
forget.
weird feeling that uh, not anyone in specific, but like the other servers that didn't get buildings made in their nodes and stuff, they had guilds that were like, we're going to control a node. Ha, our name's on the flag. Also got into leadership and then just realized, oh, that costs a lot. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of resources out of your guild and into the node if you're trying to manage that node yourself.
Also, not to forget, some of these functions are actually time gated. Because, for example, getting these standard tools, standard weapons, and light armor, they're all using copper or zinc. And in this example, I'm using zinc twice. Once you initiate zinc once, I believe it was 3 days that you have to wait.
Yep, 3 days per resource.
Yeah. So once you initiate this zinc to get those standard tools, you then have to wait for 3 days to initiate this buy order. Hence, this one building is already blocked off by at least 3 days, not counting how much time it's going to get those turned in. And that's just one building. Thankfully, different buildings require some materials to be the same. Usually bricks and standard tools are usually the same. And often you'd need rations. Which is why the biggest issue that a lot of the other mayors couldn't comprehend is that they would set their amount needed of like standard tools to be the exact amount that they need for that one building. Not thinking ahead that maybe I should set this to the maximum amount just so we can get as much as we can.
And there's
Now
also
they've
the fact
time
that
gated
there's
themselves.
upkeep costs to buildings. So if they don't have the resources
Yes.
plus a little bit of extra for each building, uh, they'll lose buildings.
Got some of that here. So you can see there's the construction cost, and then there's an upkeep cost, which is a percentage of the construction cost.
That goes back to another uh, regret I had from free alpha. I had all the resources for maintenance. I was sitting on it. There was no ticker for showing when maintenance was going to hit,
Yeah.
so I got enough to build a new building. I started the new building. 3 minutes later, all my buildings went down because maintenance fees.
Yep.
That sucked.
But this time, somehow the maintenance wasn't hitting us for some reason.
I'm not going to
It
complain.
wasn't
Hey, we
working.
also did have the resources in stock in case it did.
Yes. Yes, we did. also just to show off from the mayor perspective, whenever you have the buy orders that you set up, you can choose different materials. So it's not preset of what materials you can do. But once you do select a material, it then goes into a cooldown. See if I can get an example. There you go. You can see that in this standard tools, the zinc is now blocked off for the next 3 days. But I can use the copper.
And that
Thankfully,
was a big changing the recipe was a big thing for
yes.
specifically rations. It was you either needed poop or you only needed flowers. There was no in between with those recipes.
And thankfully, these numbers went down. That it's no longer 5 copper and 10 granite. Now it's 1 and 1. And hopefully that actually stays. And they don't actually bring it back up again.
And granite. I thought it was 5 and 5 for everything at that stage. Oh,
That's
gosh,
what I thought.
10.
But in this image, it was 10. Maybe it was different once you initiated.
Are we missing any topics?
Real quick, in fact, some of the calculations that I do have sort of state that we would need about like 2,000 wood, 200 oak wood, or 2,000 ash wood, 200 oak wood, some 600 zinc, about 1,000 copper, around 3,000 granite, 3,000 basalt, about 800 rubies, 200 graham carcasses, 450 daffodils, and 450 snowdrops, just to get those first apprentice buildings up.
And that's not even with the gold cost on top. You only start with enough for
Yes.
a service building, and then you need to farm the gold yourself after that.
Here's actually an interesting one, that with the addition to the market boards and the fact that all the servers are merged into one, money might become a very non-issue for the nodes.
That is true. Marketplace plus everyone being on one server.
Yep.
I do think it'll be fine at first. I don't know how I feel about having the level 4 nodes, though, take taxes from the level 3 ones, if that is a thing that we see in Phase 2.
Yeah.
Because that might actually hurt the vassalized nodes in terms of their gold gains. That just plays back into the thing that a vassal ship should be working with itself, not just like, oh, I'm the big node, I'm eating off the little one. No, you should be funneling resources over there still because you need them.
Yes. Yep.
And at that point, it might just be money laundering if you just funnel gold over to them and then they funnel it back to your node.
Best way to put it is when you've got a vassal, it's your child and you can't neglect it. And if you neglect it, the others are going to come and take it away from you. Which, based on some of the structures within how the vassaling is potentially going to work, there's believe that wars are going to be able to knock down the level of the node, which creates a lot of problems for buildings.
I don't think
Especially
wars
if we
are.
sink in.
Sieges.
I believe not wars. Oh, sieges. Yep. once you build those buildings that cost so much to build,
Oh, God. I'm already getting a headache from this. It's
you need more than just to May to test all of this.
the siege completely destroys the node, by the way. It doesn't just like knock it down a level.
Oh yeah,
It goes straight to
it
0.
drops it down to 1 or 0. But then they get to steal your vassal.
And your relics and your resources in your warehouses, I think. I'm not sure how that one works out.
Yep. But I mean, do you? It's something I've actually been hearing certain people discuss, and do you expect that we will that we'll get a big update tomorrow, or do you think?
I think we're gonna see what we've seen on the PTR. I don't expect too much to change, really. They did say we were gonna see a lot of the changes on the PTR this week, and we haven't seen everything from Phase 2. So I'm not expecting everything from Phase 2. Like, we already know Rogue's not on the table for a while.
Yep.
I
Yeah, I'm in
think
the same boat.
we haven't seen any party collectibles, right? Like the party gatherables.
We have not. No.
I was hoping for those because that would really help on the copper gains.
Yes. And I don't know. My expectation is that whatever they promised to be at the beginning of Phase 2 is going to be, we'll make it as Phase 2 starts rolling out.
Yeah, I expect to see a lot. Well, we've seen it constantly throughout Phase 1. Is just they push out an update that has a lot of changes in it at least once a week. I think we're gonna
Yeah.
see a lot more features on a weekly basis instead of just balance updates, bug fixes. It's now here's a week, here's a new feature.
Yep. I mean, hopefully it's earlier rather than later. But here's another fear I have. They're trying to push everything together, all the servers together into one server, and expecting everybody to be on and doing all these things and struggling during Christmas.
Ah, yeah, I know. I everyone says Christmas. I see 2 days of free farming on copper.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. But hopefully with the market stalls, some of the buying and selling process is going to be a bit more streamlined.
Yeah, but hopefully people are willing to part with that copper. That was, I think, the biggest issue with getting our hands on copper and zinc and just resources in general. People were like, I want to level my thing, so I'm going to use it. Or I'm just going to hoard it and
Yeah.
sit on it for whatever reason.
It'll be interesting how people start like pricing things on the market board, because you don't exactly, like normally in other memos on a market board, I usually see what other people's prices are and then sort of base my price off of theirs. But here you gotta actually click, or at least what I've seen already of it, you have to actually click on their name and then you get to actually look at their prices. And that's going to be extremely tedious if you actually look through everything. So you partially maybe make up your own prices, but then the prices are going to be all over the place.
Yeah, obviously it is going to be made up prices at the start. Like, no one knows the worth of copper, but
100%,
everyone knows it's scarce. So what? A gold per copper? 50 silver per
At the
copper?
same
No one
time,
knows.
yeah, at the same time, gold is a bit of a weird beast, so to say, because at the start, gold is extremely scarce. But once you get going, Like at first, I would say 1 gold is like quite a lot, and you can get a lot for the 1 gold, especially from like basic vendors. And usually trying to just grind out some basic materials doesn't really get you that gold. But once you get to like journeyman stuff, like for example journeyman fishing, which doesn't even require a journeyman building for fishing, you then can get a lot more gold a lot more faster. And similarly, the caravans, and once you start running those caravans between the further away nodes, that gives like hundreds of gold. And that's going to create a lot of inflation. But then what do you then price copper at? 20 gold?
It is hard. It Another thing that I just wanted to bring up is that like there's so few gold sinks in the game. There's enchanting. I think, yeah, that's like really it. Honestly, there's the
Enchanting.
Ebon Omen if you
Mhm.
really want to splurge, but enchanting is the only real valuable gold sink
Yeah.
we have right now
And
to go off of prices.
enchanting is kind of like the ultimate end game.
What else are you doing with gold? Freeholds now.
Yeah.
Freeholds cost 100, but that's just
One
one
thing is
caravan run, really.
we also actually haven't seen the journeyman level enchanting scrolls.
Mm.
And how much would those cost? Because it's already a lot of gold for apprentice stuff. The apprentice
That
scrolls.
is something I'm going to pitch to the mayors in phase 2. Just right
Yeah.
off the bat, we have a scribe at Journeyman, even if there's nothing to support it because the vendor is online. And the vendor will have what we need.
Yes. Do we have more topics?
Um, Not entirely sure. We are a little over what we wanted, but that's fine. We started a little late.
Yeah.
Uh, is there anything else you can show off mayor window wise that was different? The resources that we could see where everyone else saw 0. We've shown off the total node gold part, expansion points. I don't know if people could see that.
Expansion points. Yes, at the top over here.
You'll have
Oh,
to.
hold on.
Yep.
Yes. At the top over here, you can see the expansion points. And once you use them up, it'll sort of say 0 out of 1. And you use them by upgrading to Journeyman. Whoop.
If you have any of the screenshots for that, okay, yeah. So that
Here is the
shows
requirement.
a fabrication point is needed, and up at the top you can see we have 1 fabrication point in our node. So that means we can make the upgrade that we're looking at for that lumber mill.
In addition, we need 300 gold.
And 12 gold a week.
Yes.
I don't remember if that's plus 12 on top of your the fees that you're already getting or not. I don't think the maintenance cost for upgraded buildings ever actually worked in phase 1.
It did not. And therefore, and even though they did actually announcements that, oh,
Yeah.
make sure your stuff is covered so that you don't have broken buildings, but nothing ever happened.
They might have just turned it off because they knew
Yeah.
broken buildings hurt. Anything
Here,
else? I
let's
mean, the
see.
treasury shows off how many resources the node has, only for the mayor, though.
Yeah, only the mayor can see these values. Also, I know that the buy orders, you can have a maximum of only 15.
Yes, I
So
did run
next,
into that issue at one point.
yeah. And also
Um,
make sure to pay your taxes.
and we have no influence over the taxes, by the way.
Yes.
As far as I know, mayors can't do anything about the cost.
I did see in the today's test that when I became a citizen of a node, it now requires you to have the 13 of those tax papers.
So you have to
So
have
they're
them to become a
gradually
citizen in the
increasing it.
first place, or
So no, you don't have to. It's
okay.
once you become a citizen, then it's just, hey, for the next week, pay 13.
I feel like it might be related to how many buildings and how
Maybe
many
taxes
upgraded buildings you have.
or maybe buildings. I don't
Because
know.
if it starts with 2 with nothing in the node, or at least a factory in the node, and then I think we were at like 35 to 55 when we had an upgraded mining pick station and animal husbandry and all the other stuff. Things to keep an eye out for in the future.
Also, one or more thing is the mayor election. As far as we've seen, um, do they still plan to keep the 2 hour election at the beginning?
I can only assume that. I think the initial election might be a 2-hour window. Um,
Or
and
technically,
then
in
the
total, 4
actual
hours.
ones are, yeah, 4 hours. Well, two for sign up, 2 for vote. I can only assume that's how they're going to do it still. And then the 24-hour voting window for normal elections. 24
Yeah.
hour for sign up, 24-hour for. Uh,
So election takes 2 days. Once we're doing
Supposedly,
re-election.
yes. Assuming all the. Oh, well, I do think that lines up perfectly, though, because we are starting at the end of a month,
Yeah.
and votes for, like, the normalized vote begins about 5 days before the next month.
Although they did say that the leveling of the nodes is going to be reduced to 15%. Based on
Yes,
that,
but with everyone on the same server, I'm still expecting
I've also heard,
fast.
but this is more or less hearsay, that it's being reduced even more than just 15%. And
I
my
don't think they
expectation is going to take 3 days to get to village.
from what we saw in the patch notes, it said they increased the amount of experience needed to level, not reduce the amount of experience gained.
Yeah.
So I think the reduction in XP is set. Now they're just increasing how much you need in order to level. But even still, if it does take 3, 4, 5 days to level to 3,
Yeah.
we're still gonna have time for normalized elections, not just the emergency elections.
Yep. What was supposed to be the
Uh,
the time period for one mayor to exist?
1 month.
1 month, okay. And
It's
we're
one
getting
month
like 6
between
months.
votes. Yeah.
Wait, how many months? Yeah, we're getting
Uh,
6 months, I believe.
yes.
There's one other thing. I forgot.
Eh, topic for next time, I guess.
Yes.
We are at
Well,
about that
hopefully,
time.
yeah. By next time, I would expect that we're going to be into phase 2 with a whole lot more information.
Yep.
And we'll see
We are
things move
doing
around.
these every other week, so it should be the servers will still be up next time we do this. 2nd
Yeah.
of January.
Yep. Actually, no. No, they won't.
Yes.
Because I would expect that the servers come up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they'll go on through the 25th and the 26th
The
until the 31st. Unless there was an announcement.
There was an email that went out earlier today.
Oh, okay.
December 20th to January 6th is all live.
Oh. Well, thankfully, I'm actually not going back to the office.
It is a
Until
whole lot
January
of
6th.
grinding time, though.
Yes. I'm ready.
I think this is the first time we've had an actually extended playtime, similar to what we saw in Alpha 1. I'm ready for this.
Yes. This would probably, even including the pre-alpha, this is probably going to be the longest test.
I think that wasn't the pre-alpha a full month long? With
Was
like
it?
very little downtime? Can't remember.
Maybe it was. Are we getting technically almost a full month? No, we're getting like 3 weeks.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh. I think that's it.
Yep. Any last questions in chat before we end stream?
How long was the last test?
Uh,
We started October 20th, I believe.
it was, but we only had weekend. There was 1 week where we had a full week. That
Yeah.
was... If we condensed all the playtime down, we had like...
Probably like a month. Maybe slightly less.
I'd say less. I'd say about 3 weeks. I'd say the amount of time we're getting in this one go of phase 2 is
Oh, yeah.
about the amount of time we had in phase 1.
But this one is going to be no sleeping for all 3 weeks.
Ugh.
Let's do some shout outs. Clover, do you plan to stream anytime soon?
I do. I plan to stream sometime tomorrow, or the next day. I haven't figured out. I want to hit the ground running first, and then once I get into the like proper leveling mode, maybe around level 10, 12, I'll boot up a stream. Yes, thank you for putting those in. I have a Discord where you can get pinged for my live streams. I am horrendously bad at keeping up. I think the last time I announced I was going to stream, I said I was going to stream in phase 1, and I did not stream at all in phase 1. But I will try and keep updated there. My Twitch is also linked there. I will start putting out some YouTube videos as well. But I will primarily be here on Twitch, on the Overlord channel or on my channel when I'm not doing a podcast. Nehelion, what about you?
Yeah. I mean, I stream practically every single day. Although a lot of times it's non-ashes stuff. So usually in the morning. And I plan continuing to have morning streams of some gacha games. But aside from that, as active as I could possibly do it, I'll be streaming ashes. Probably some like over 10-hour streams. And hey, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not my job to stream, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's fun to talk to people. So if you just have nothing else to do and want to talk to someone, I'll be
Oh, yeah,
sitting
but
there for 24 hours.
mindless grind is not fun, but if you have somebody to talk to, that makes it a whole lot better.
Yep. I mean, I find mindless grind fun, but it also is fun to also talk. Also, for this channel, make sure to follow if you haven't yet followed. And hopefully we can grow it a bit so we can have those subscriptions as well at some point.
Anubis or any of the other podcast people, when is your next / first official podcast? Let's get a shout out to them as well.
Yeah. Shout out to all the other guys. For the non-Econ actual podcast. We're not the actual podcast.
We're just the first with a recorded one.
Hopefully it's recorded.
Assuming
Yeah.
they know when their next one is, at least. Let's see. From what you know.
Next week, Thursday. So it'll probably
Okay.
be every Thursday.
That is right after the holidays.
Okay.
Not that the Ashes grind stops for it.
I guess we can sign out. And
one more shout out down below. If you don't know already, I'm pretty sure everyone here is from Overlord, but if you're not, you can find a link to the disc. You can't find a link to the disc. It's in chat. We should probably
Yes,
have that
in chat
somewhere
it
on
is.
our about section.
Oh, yeah, probably. To join Overlord.
You can click on the
But-
Discord. There it is. Okay.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. So, if you aren't already in a guild for Ashes and you're looking for one, Overlord is always recruiting. There is an interview process to make sure you're right for us and also that we're right for you. But it
Yep.
is painless. I believe I haven't gone through that process in 3 years at this point, so might have changed
mean-
since then.
They do a little bit of a blood test nowadays.
Okay. Get the background history.
And a little bit of an initiation. But I guess we'll be signing out. And one more shout out to Kodiaks for making this song. And I'll sign out
And
with the song playing.
and all of our stream UI, by the way. The background,
Oh yes,
the
and everything.
overlay,
All
all
these
of it.
overlay things.
All that's Kodiak.
All thanks to Kodiaks. So thank you, Kodiaks, and thank you for the song.
We are We are the storm, the endless might. Overlord stands the beacon of light. Through ash and flame, we carve our name. At the top we claim the game. In the chaos we rise, unbroken and strong. A force unmatched where we belong. Through shadows and war, our glory and thought. The guild of champions, a legend tall. Stand tall, we reign supreme. Unstoppable, living the dream. With every clash, our power grows. Overlord, the world will know. We are Overlord. enemies tremble, the fate is clear. Overlord strikes and the end is near. Relentless we march, no challenge too great. Masters of conquest, we dominate. Unite, we forge the flame, burning bright, eternal fame. Through every storm, through every foe, Overlord, the legends grow. We are Overlord, unstoppable might, ruling the skies, owning the fight. We are Overlord, destined to reign. Through every battle we conquer again. No mercy shown, no ground we yield. Our banner flies on every field. At the peak, our victory sealed. Overlord. Through blood and steel, we carve the way, the kings and queens of every fray. No defeat, no step too far. We rise and shine, the brightest star.